Welcome to the Marketing Smarts live show by MarketingProfs and the Marketing Smarts podcast, where we dive into B2B news, resources, valuable guest content, and much, much more each and every week. Hey, if you're a B2B marketer looking for a place to learn, keep up to date, and have some fun along the way, then you know I'm your guy. Grab a beverage and a notepad. Welcome to the show. So hello to all my Marketing Smarts Live viewers today. I'm super excited to bring you episode 10 of the Marketing Smarts Live show on a topic that is near and dear to my heart. This show comes out of what might be one of my favorite conversations I've ever had in interview form. That's right. Are you trying to not be different, or are you embracing your difference? That is the question that I want to ask everybody that watches this video. Are you trying to not be different, or are you embracing your difference? Your difference, your superpower, might I dare say. Now, I'm your boy, George B. Thomas, speaker, trainer, catalyst, and host of this here show, the Marketing Smarts YouTube Live, LinkedIn, and now private Facebook group live show. That's a long title. It's getting long, but we're just going to call it the Marketing Smarts Live show, as well as the Marketing Smarts podcast found on your favorite podcast app. Now, today's topic is different is better than better. And of course, whatever tips, tricks, strategies, or best practices hit my brain along our fantastic journey today. Our guest clips today are brought to you by none other than Sally Hogshead, and she is amazing. Now, drawing upon her branding expertise, Sally Hogshead created a method to identify how each person is able to captivate their listeners. The fascination advantage, and yes, that's probably registered or trademarked and all those things, is the first communication assessment that measures how others perceive you. After researching over 1 million professionals, her algorithm can pinpoint your most valuable differentiating traits. Her two most recent books, Fascinate, How to Make Your Brand Impossible to Resist, and How the World Sees You, Discover Your Highest Value Through the Science of Fascination, were both New York Times bestsellers. Hey, I said she was awesome. Sally is a member of the Speaker Hall of Fame of World of Mouth Marketing Association Hall of Fame, and named a top brand guru. Sally's practical marketing system now lives inside of organizations such as IBM, Twitter, the YMCA, as well as thousands of small to medium-sized businesses. Buckle up. This is going to be a good one. Remember, the clips of Sally today are pulled from the full Marketing Smarts podcast episode. And if you want to listen to the full interview with Sally and myself, make sure to tune into the Marketing Smarts podcast link to the full show. It'll be in the description below after the live show ends. That's right. All the right links in all the right places at just the right time. Also, thanks to Mountain and Terminus for sponsoring the original podcast episode. It is a two-part episode. Today, we're going to pull clips from both to kind of condense it down, but just know this is a winner. Also, just know that we are getting ready to blow your mind. At least I think so. I mean, honestly, this conversation was great. Now, when I got the opportunity to interview Sally, it was coming off the end of last year's B2B Forum event where Sally did a keynote on this specific topic, which, by the way, make sure that you're focusing in on and looking at this year's B2B Forum. Now, as I watched her keynote, my brain flooded with tons of questions. I just knew I needed to ask Sally a bunch of questions. And so for me, that equals, when I think of content creation, ladies and gentlemen, it's interview time. However, before we get into the interview clips, her intro to her keynote was a sign of things to come. It was funny. It was crazy. It was exciting. It was, you guessed it, different than anything I had seen as a keynote intro. So before we get into the interview, the questions, Sally's response, just take a look at what she used for the intro to her keynote last year at the B2B Forum. Buckle up and get ready to headbang.
Get ready for the brand smackdown! be the winner. Introducing the difference. And in the other corner, the better beast. The B2B brand battle royale for supremacy. I'm Sally Hogshead, and I'll see you on April 7th with MarketingProfs. We're going to have the epic brand blowout battle. It's different versus better. Be there.
I honestly can't watch that without smiling, and I do a little bit of a rock dance behind the scenes, but it's totally crazy and cool at the same time. So as I dug in with Sally, I wanted to ask her why in the world she thought that different is better than better. Why is different better than better? I want you to stop and think about that for yourself. If you think about the things that make you different and your journey to maybe always trying to be better, why is leaning into different better than better? Anyway, that's exactly what I asked Sally for our first question, and this is what she had to say.
Well, let me ask you, George, were you ever told when you were growing up that there was something about you that was different? Imagine me with air quotes.
In a good way and probably a bad way, but yes, absolutely. I have my differences.
One of the beautiful things about evaluating people according to better is that better is a scorecard. It's really easy to show incremental improvement. And so everybody wants to stand straighter in the line. They want to get not just the A, they want to get the A+. They want to incrementally improve. And the same with brands. Brands get into a trap where they look at the competition and they think, if I could be just a little bit cheaper, a little bit fancier, a little bit bigger, better. And the problem is that the world has started to improve to a point that it's extraordinarily difficult and expensive to outspend your competition. If you don't have the biggest budget and the greatest awareness, there's no way you can win in a marketplace in which you're being evaluated according to better. But the good news is that if you don't have the biggest budget, you don't have the greatest awareness, if you as an individual are not the most famous with the most awards and the greatest resume and network, that's not a disadvantage. That's an advantage because it allows you to focus on attributes that your competition isn't.
Focus on what you are and what your competition isn't. That is a tweetable and maybe a notable thought for sure, but it only led me to a couple questions that immediately hit my cranium. That's right. It's just how it works. Like I will hear something and boop, boop, boop. There will be additional questions. So that's when I asked Sally, why is focusing on better a quick way to the loser circle, and how can we be different with purpose? Think about that. Not only different for different sake, but different with a purpose. And this is what Sally had to say about those two questions.
There are a lot of qualities when you were growing up that you were told that you were probably told they were flaws. You know, they were imperfections. If we think about, we evaluate children according to strengths, and what's the opposite of strengths? Weaknesses. So in a world of strength, there's only one winner, and that person is the best. Everybody else is an also-ran. So it's just a matter of where you are standing in line behind the person who's best. But if we take a cue from something that we know about marketing, that we have to differentiate. If we take that to the extreme and see, we will never be able to outdo somebody else at their own game. I can't out George you. I can't out Seth Godin. But in the same way, if we can identify what exactly are those qualities that are different, not just for the sake of being different, but they're different because they're intensely valuable to a specific target audience. Let's take an example, a team example during COVID. People who had a great sense of humor sitting around the status room table pre-COVID had a competitive advantage in that they could engage and they could get people to remember through humor. But then when we had to quarantine, it was humor had a completely different role. It wasn't enough just to be funny. You have to be able to take that attribute about yourself and pivot it. So with humor, a way to pivot that is you can see something from a different perspective. Humor is about irony and friction. So if you're able to take a look at a situation, bring a fresh perspective on it, that's a way that you can take a quality that makes you different and valuable in one circumstance that becomes a completely different attribute in a different circumstance for a different target audience.
Can you take your difference and turn it into your superpower in different situations and for different audiences in your life? I'm going to ask that again. Can you take your differences and turn it into your superpower in different situations and for different audiences in your life? I sure think so. But the real question is, do you? What are your thoughts so far about this topic? Let us know by using the hashtag MPB2B. Now, we'll get back to Sally and her thoughts on different is better than better. But I have to ask, are you part of the Marketing Profs community? Free community, by the way. If not, become part of the Marketing Profs community by heading over to mprofs.com, MP today. That's mprofs.com. MP today. Now it's time for In the B2B News, where we talk about breaking B2B news or really important tips we find on the Google News tab related to you and your B2B business. A fun little side note, this week when I searched B2B marketing on the news tab of Google, the first result was our latest interview with Pam Didner. So make sure you check that bad boy out. It'll be a future live show, but the podcast episode is live now. However, today's In the News section is actually how to use buyer reviews in B2B marketing by Christina Kearney. Also, it comes to us from the plethora of Marketing Profs articles. That's right. It was in that top section of B2B marketing in the Google News tab. Now, this one jumped off the page to me because I truly believe when we focus on being different, your audience will leave reviews and testimonials at a faster pace. But how can you then leverage those reviews to their maximum advantage for your ROI return? That's where this useful article comes into play. You'll learn 5 ways to use your buyer reviews in your B2B marketing moving forward. And I have to ask, are you using your reviews currently in the right ways? Hey, the link will be in the description once this live is over. That's right. All the right links in all the right places at just the right time. So let's get back to Sally and her Marketing Smarts podcast episode. Now, I wanted to dig in deeper into this conversation of different and better. I wanted to know just a couple of things, and that is, what should we be thinking of and what should we be leveraging? That's right. When you think about this conversation of different and better, breaking the two apart, what should we be thinking of and what should we be leveraging? And here, ladies and gentlemen, is what Sally had to say about those things.
Just being the best is demoralizing because it's automatically putting yourself, you're putting the control in somebody outside you because you're the best as evaluated by them. And that's why it's so brittle. Like you come up with a shiny technology, I'll come up with a shinier one. You come up with a price cut. Well, I'm going to price cut you lower. It's always on a straight linear line going up and down. Think of it like it's a ladder going up. Different, on the other hand, is not as predictable. It's kind of that curvy horizontal line, if you can imagine, that your success is not guaranteed, but no longer is your success guaranteed with better. And so when we go on this journey of different and we begin looking at ourselves and we think, okay, what are the most strategically polarizing things about ourselves? For me, I have a huge competitive disadvantage. My last name is Hogshead. Think about what that was like growing up on the playground. Nobody would ask for that. But as my mom told me, she said, it's the thing about our name that makes it different that will one day make you love it. And it's true. There are certain things about having a polarizing brand, like the last name Hogshead, that even when I got married, I kept my last name because, like many things that are highly differentiated, it's memorable, it's ownable, and it's easy to build an identity around that.
Did you hear Sally say polarizing, but in a good way? When you have something that's different, and I love exactly how Sally said this. I mean, she said it perfectly. It's ownable, it's memorable, and it's easy to build an identity around. Are you able to take your difference and own it, make it memorable, and build an identity around it? That's the question that you should be asking yourself right now. I hope that you see how focusing on being better is not a viable solution in the world we live in today. Sure, you want to try to always get better, but getting better in the lane of also leveraging your difference will put you in a magical place. Again, we'll get back to Sally in a few minutes where we dive into the questions centered around fixing and optimize versus open-ended opportunities. We also get Sally to share a great example with us around this conversation. But first, it's time for some dope B2B learnings from the Vault of MarketingProfs articles. That's right. It's time to dig into the treasure trove of valuable information and pull out 2 pieces of gold to help you be a better B2B marketer. Article 1 this week is Will Sears Be More Like Target Than Kmart by Kathy Halligan. Yep, you guessed it. As my brain often works when I'm deep in thinking of different versus better, I also tie it to different versus the same. And so this article title screamed. The sea of sameness jumped out to me. Take a gander and see what tips you can glean for your own B2B marketing. Article 2 for this week's episode is Back to Me, Why You Should Talk About Yourself by Claudia Temple. I'll let you read the full article, but let me just dive into a small section of this to whet your appetite. Visitors are often more curious about the folks behind the site rather than the technology or the mission. Why? Because people do business with other people, H to H people, human to human, not companies, corporations, or websites. Buying a CD or umbrella from a website can save the customer time and aggravation. More often than not, we hope. But the real relationship is built between the customer and his or her perception of who is handling the transaction at their or your end. Every time you deliver at a customer touch point, trust grows. Let me repeat that. Every time you deliver at a customer touch point, trust grows, and the likelihood of a loyal relationship increases. Keywords there, trust and loyal relationships. That, as marketers, as B2B marketers, what we could be is what we could be focusing on. Now, to learn more after the broadcast and to read both articles in full, head to the links located in the description below. Yes, I'm going to say it maybe for the last time today. All the right links in all the right places at just the right time. All right, you know what you want to do. You want to get back to Sally. So back to Sally. Let's dive back into the conversation of different and better, as well as learn about a great example of how you can leverage your difference to not only be different, but different with a purpose. Sally shares a great branding example where a product pivoted in their difference. And here's what Sally had to share. I love this story, just to be honest with you all.
Well, an easy way to think about it is no kid ever came home crying from school saying, mommy, the kids are teasing me. They say I'm better. Better is the approval of other people according to a metric that they have established. And it's like the most improved award. Better means you weren't good enough to begin with. Better means that there's something wrong that you have to fix or optimize. Different, on the other hand, gives you an open-ended opportunity to explore the different options. And instead of having this mind-slogging, ditch-digging, gradual improvement, you have quantum leaps. Now, this is why different is a risk. You can't be different just to be different. You have to identify what's a situation, a target audience, a purpose, or an unfulfilled need that you can solve with your point of difference. For example, let's borrow something from branding. When electricity was invented and people stopped using their coal stoves, there was a product that was in danger of becoming irrelevant. And the product cleaned the soot off of the walls. It had a very distinctive scent. But when there was no soot on the walls, there was no more of this product. So the product pivoted and reinvented with a totally different target audience without changing the product. And that product became Play-Doh. Play-Doh started as a household cleaning agent, and they kept the scent the exact same. When the need dried up, when their target audience, when their market opportunity dried up because nobody had soot, then positioning it as a child's toy, which ironically gets stuck in the carpets, is one way of saying, don't change who you are. You don't have to change who you are. You have to become more of who you are.
OMG. You have to become more of who you are. You don't have to change. You don't have to change, people. You just have to become more of who you are. Okay. I don't know about you, but I am totally down for that journey. Totally down for that journey. And maybe it's because I have the 2-part series under my belt, or just because that's how I'm built. But are you wondering, just like me, how can I become more of who I am? More of who you are? I hope so, because that's what I asked next. I mean, I really leaned into this. And guess what? Sally answered, and let's see what she had to say.
So the first part is identify a difference that is highly differentiated and polarizing in certain situations that you may have been told growing up that it was something that you needed to fix. Second, identify how is that an advantage? For a lot of people in marketing, like me, I'm intensely creative. That means I'm able to come up with ideas really quickly, but I have difficulty with structure. I have difficulty with intricate directions and staying on task over time. So it's up to me to know I should not put myself, as a creative thinker, I shouldn't put myself in situations in which I'm going to be evaluated according to my ability to simply replicate, crank out the same thing identical over and over again. I could do it, but it would be exhausting. It would feel like quicksand. Instead, what I need to do is to find what are the situations and people in which creativity is not only a benefit, but it's absolutely essential. And then I have to take that creativity and I have to make sure that I am responsible for over delivering in that one area, because that's how I'm going to give value.
Oh, and it's all about giving value, and all of those sound like great ways to get started. Now, we're going to get some words of wisdom from Sally here in a few minutes, but right now it's time to turn the spotlight on you, the Marketing Profs community. You know, the people that I love, why I do this. Yep. It's time for From the B2B Community. We searched far and wide in the hashtag MPB2B universe to find amazing information and conversations to bring to the masses. That's you. So first, make sure you're using the stinking hashtag. And second, make sure you have fun and add value to the community. Then we'll spotlight you or your crew on the show. This week, it's Katie Martel, or at Katie Martel on Twitter. Yes, I was on the Twitters for this one. Her tweet that caught my eye was, "No marketer means to exclude anyone in our target audience. Hashtag accessibility is part of being inclusive." I teamed up with at Perkins Access and at MarketingProfs, hashtag MPB2B, there it is, to share 5 ways to make your hashtag marketing more accessible now. Watch our keynote on demand. And of course, the link is in the show notes that you can watch after this live broadcast is over. And thank you, Katie Martel, for using the hashtag. Hey, are you going to be the next to get the spotlight? Remember, community, use that hashtag MPB2B on Facebook, LinkedIn, and or Twitter, and get the light shined on your awesomeness in the next episode or a future episode of the Marketing Smarts Live Show. Pro tip, it won't hurt if you tag me into your post as well. And I'm at George B. Thomas on LinkedIn and Twitter. So I love to end the podcast, and I love to kind of wrap up these live shows with some words of wisdom. Look, we've all gone through a journey. We've all helped people through those types of journeys. And so words of wisdom can really impact and give us kind of next steps. So we're going to kick it back to Sally and some awesome words of wisdom around this topic of different is better than better.
The greatest way to empower somebody is to help them identify who they already are and then reward them for what they're doing right. The greatest way to kill somebody's spirit is to show them what they're doing wrong and tell them how to fix it. So remember this, you don't have to change anything. You are not perfect for everything. You are not perfect for everyone, but you are extraordinary at the right time with the right people. And that is how to reach your ideal potential, by being different.
Can I get an amen on that? The greatest way to empower somebody is to help them identify who they already are and reward them for what they're doing right. I have to ask, are you empowering yourself? Are you empowering others? Are you reaching your ideal potential by being different? Have you enjoyed today's journey? Let us know. Use that hashtag MPB2B. Head to the description below. Click on the link in the full Marketing Smarts podcast with Sally Hogshead and keep on learning more about how to reach your full potential. Remember, these were just a few clips from the original Marketing Smarts podcast interview that, by the way, was sponsored by Mountain and Terminus. If you got value of today's show, hit that like. Better yet, share it with a friend. And to keep learning more, hit that subscribe or watch additional Marketing Profs videos or articles, depending on where you are. Or go tune in to the original Marketing Smarts podcast episodes on your favorite podcast app. Don't forget to become part of the Marketing Profs community by heading over to mprofs.com/MP today. Don't forget to check out the B2B forum with 49 speakers, bunch of keynotes. I'll be on stage. Bunch of shenanigans. By the way, my pal George will get you 20% discount on your ticket. Anyway, and as always, as I close this out and land the plane, remember to be a happy, helpful, humble B2B marketing human. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Marketing Smarts live show next week.